Hello? Hello, Maria. Oh.
Hello, all right. I know you've got to go to the hospital. So how are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm all right. So I haven't got to go back for 4 months now.
Oh, that's excellent news.
That's good.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very pleased to hear that. Oh.
Yeah, I'm feeling a bit better than I have been feeling. That's good. Really.
Right, I think we're live. Ready to go, Alex? Yeah.
That's correct, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Safer Neighbourhoods and Active Communities Scrutiny Board, which is being live streamed this evening. My name is Councillor Paul Moore. I'm the Councillor for Hateley Heath Ward in West Bromwich, and I'm the chair of the meeting this evening. Please can I ask all members to mute their microphones unless they've been invited to speak to avoid any disturbance to the meeting. If anyone does wish to speak, please can you use the raise a hand feature, or can you send a message using the chat box, and then I'll invite you to turn on your microphone and speak at the appropriate point. When you are finished speaking, please can you remember to turn off your microphone again. First of all, can I ask all members who are present to please introduce themselves in turn. We'll go with Councillor Crompton first.
Good evening. I'm Maria Crompton. I'm Deputy Leader, and I'm here today to speak about the portfolio that I am covering at the moment.
Councillor Hughes.
Hello, it's Councillor Pam Hughes. I'm a councillor for Wednesbury South.
Councillor Jones.
As Councillor Steve Jones, representing Prince's End Ward.
Councillor Yassine.
Yeah, Councillor Mohammed Yassine Hussain, representing Tipton Green Ward.
Councillor Edwards. Councillor Edwards, you're on mute.
Councillor John Edwards, Greece Green and Ling Ward. Sorry about the delay.
No problem. Councillor Bauer.
Councillor for the board, thank you.
Councillor Boston.
Good evening, Chair. Councillor Ahmed Boston, Abbey Ward.
And I think I've covered everybody. Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. Apologies for the meeting. Can I receive any apologies for absence?
Yes, Chair. Apologies received from Councillors Akhtar and Sandars and co-opted member Mr. Cash. Councillor Manjit Gill has indicated that he may arrive late to the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 2 is to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of October 2020 as a correct record. Can I first ask whether there are any issues with the accuracy of the minutes? If not, I'm happy to move a copy. Is somebody happy to second the minutes from the meeting? Councillor Edwards, yeah. Okay, we'll take those as approved then. Agenda item 3 is declarations of interest. Can I ask whether any member has any declarations of interest to declare in relation to any item on the agenda in accordance with the provisions of the Code of Conduct and or Section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992. Are there any interests to declare? No, no interests to declare. And 3B is to receive any declarations of the existence and nature of any political party whip on any matter to be considered at the meeting. There is no whip, and I've not been informed of any such whip in relation to the meeting. So we'll move on to agenda item 4, which is any additional items of business. Can I ask whether any members have any additional items of business arising which they feel that need to be considered at this meeting as a matter of urgency? Does anybody have any additional items? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Chair, through you. It's come today, actually. We've been having a lot of inquiries and a lot of concerns from local pub landlords and restaurants, exactly if there is going to be any kind of government support or grants through the lockdown prior to the 2nd of December. Sandwell NBC website says it's no information about tier 2 or 3 grants, but the national government saying the grants are all ready to give out to get the pubs through Christmas. The pub I drink in is 500 years old, and it goes back to Da Vinci. And it's first time they've actually had to close its doors. It's died for the pubs in Sandwell. So I'm just wondering if there's any specific grants or support advice we can give out now, because it just seems to be that the pubs seem to be getting it with this lockdown. Appreciate any kind of signposting.
Okay, are there any other items that members wish to add to the agenda? No. In which case, could I suggest that we take that particular point as agenda item 7, and we'll move Sandwell Aquatic Centre update to item number 8. As part of that item will need to be taken in private session, so we can hear your points, Councillor Jones, in public, and I can ask the question and take that forward. Next item on the agenda is a discussion with the Deputy Leader. This is in relation to items covered by the Deputy Leader's portfolio that are within this board's terms of reference. I would ask that members do try and confine their questions to the items which Councillor Crompton is here to speak on. Obviously, she is also the acting leader of the council, and I'm sure she would be happy to take questions on anything, but she is specifically here to talk about issues in relation to her portfolio that relate to this board. My understanding is Councillor Crompton's got a short presentation of around 5 to 10 minutes to give us a flavour of some of the issues that she has been working on, and then we should have around 15 to 20 minutes or longer if required to ask any questions. So I'll hand it over to you, Councillor Crompton, to take us through an overview of some of the work that you've been doing.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Moore. I am happy to take questions on other things at the end, and if I haven't got the answer, I'm sure someone else from the offices will probably have some sort of an answer for you. I'll start off. I know we're doing the aquatic centre at the end, but I've actually got a little bit of start with that really. So the Sandwell Aquatic Centre, we've been working positively with the Aquatic Centre project, and that's ongoing. There was some initial impact from COVID, but that was very minimal. And to be fair, Whites have carried on wonderfully well and have kept to timescales since, more or less, and they are on target to deliver within the timescales required. So so far we've got the works that have been completed and or have been due to start. We've got foundation piles are in and they're completed. All the pool tanks are complete and have been measured to make sure that they are the correct size. Thank goodness they are. We would hate to make a mistake with that one, wouldn't we? The reinforced concrete works are continuing in line with the programme. The steel frame for the front section of the building is complete, and 6 steel roof trusses are now in place over the pool hall, which is wonderful. That was amazing. I went to see those going up. That's really good work going there. You can see it taking shape now. Work has commenced on the cladding of the front section of the building, and manufacture of the dive tower has commenced. I did go over, it was probably a couple of 3 weeks ago now, and met with a load of apprentices that we have got working on there, and it's good that we've got a lot of local workforce there, including a lot of apprenticeships, and people are learning new skills while they're working on the job. So over the next few months, we've got work will continue excuse me, on the installation of the steel trusses. The work will continue on the cladding, and we will start the roofing. The dive tower will start to be installed in December. That's going to be really exciting, and the rest of the work will continue. With regards to the work being completed and developed an outcome framework to make sure most of the hostings of the event with Birmingham 2020 Commonwealth Games are all in line, and the outcome framework will be developed by mid-December. So that's all really good stuff. So I'll move on from that, because I know you are going to speak about the aquatic centre later, and I don't want to take up a load of time over that. So if we move on to the waste services, waste collection and street cleansing services have continued to operate throughout the pandemic, at times with some disruptions to service, but that being said, they have continued. presently except for food waste collections, but food waste is a problem. In as much as we can only have a set number of people within the vehicle, and you have to have someone separate to those in order to collect the food waste. And so that has been stopped for the moment. We will have to see how that goes. Staffing has fluctuated due to people proving positive or self-isolating or shielding, but Serco have managed to carry on with a minimum of staff. The household recycling centre has now moved online to an online booking system, as you will probably already be aware, and this has had a number of positive impacts. And now, as we no longer accept waste from non-residential houses, so you have to be a resident in Sandwell in order to use it, and we have to show that now. I know it was difficult to start with. We had fortnightly booking. We then moved to weekly booking, and we are about to go back to normal when you can book whenever, and that will obviously help our residents hugely. Food waste collections will not be unable to start until we can comply fully with the COVID-10 social distancing. So that's going to have to wait for the moment until we can resolve that. Excuse me. So if we go on to hate crime and community tensions, our delivery plan is progressing well. The plan contains a number of actions across 5 themes: responding, reporting, supporting victims and building understanding. Our annual Safer 6 campaign includes hate crime activities, including a relaunch of third-party reporting centres, workshops with local communities and West Midlands Police to raise awareness and assurance that actions will be taken. Social media updates, including a digital newsletter, went out to almost 8,000 homes, and we have obviously signed up only last week, or it might have been the week before, the week's run away with me at the moment, to the hate crime pledge with a zero tolerance approach to hate crime. Sandwell Families Against Youth Crime. There is using some grant funding that we got, which was 350k thereabouts. That's all going along quite nicely, and was launched in summer of 2019, and that's having a positive impact. Work is focused across mainly Smethwick and West Bromwich at the moment. But the data is showing high levels of youth violence, knife crime and antisocial behaviour. This project is aimed to build resilience amongst young people, specifically young people in transition from primary school to secondary school, and is being targeted both universally and with the activities. If we then go on to community safety, Police and Crime Commission funding has set 10 projects. In Sandwell, 5 related to the prevention of youth violence, 1 to increasing awareness of radicalisation, and Project 12, Sandwell PSHE programme, and 2 domestic abuse prevention, which is obviously a big concern in Sandwell at the moment, as numbers have risen an awful lot. Modern slavery, we're dealing with that, and we've had some training as well to do with modern slavery within the local council members. So we're doing that along with I think at the moment we're doing some stuff on, I can't just think what the word is, someone's walking through and putting me off. Can't think, I'll move on. Okay, so borough tasking meetings and town and borough tasking meetings are all happening, developing shared intelligence and intervention plans on crime and antisocial behaviour. The hate crime plan is overseen by a borough tasking, which I attend, not all the time, because obviously I'm very busy doing the other things at the moment, because I generally wouldn't have a portfolio being deputy leader of the council at the moment, but obviously circumstances have given me rise to have to do this as well. So we're fitting everything in, and kindly some other cabinet members are helping me out there and attending some of the meetings along with some other members. So as I was saying, hate crime is overseen by Borough Tasking, and we have got a task and finish group that are tackling domestic abuse, and that's been established in Prince's End. Meetings have continued as usual in line with good attendance, and monthly member briefings are shared following each meeting. The antisocial behaviour, I won't be much longer, promise. The antisocial behaviour team is following the work that we've been doing with rough sleepers, bringing them into temporary accommodation. That's been a real eye opener that what we can achieve when we set our minds to that. But we still have some problems with aggressive begging and drinking out in the towns, and that can be a bit of a problem also. CCTV is continuing to support West Bromwich Town Centre following recent incidents, and also supporting police operation regarding car cruising on Kendrick Way. External accreditation for this service is being pursued following a very positive internal audit. Upgrade work progressing at Alfred Gunn House, which will enhance the CCTV there and the door entry systems to also help with ASD there. Let me have a little look. I'm just looking to see, I'm chopping some bits out now because I'm aware it's taking a long time. The Urban Forestry Service, tree management for all highways and parks, communal areas and housing, front and back garden trees, includes proactive and reactive tree work. That's ongoing. However, we are only able to do emergency tree works, as during lockdown it has been a bit of a problem. Exception of housing, we are doing some in houses, but mainly it is emergency tree work that's happening. And obviously we've got the supply and the installation of the dreaded Christmas trees, which always raises some questions. So all the trees will be installed by now. I think I've got a call trying to come into me, which I'm trying to ignore. Right, libraries. Okay, so the Central West Bromwich Library was opened in the first phase in September, followed by Wednesbury Library on the 19th of October. Plans were also progressing really well to reopen Gleefields in Tipton and Smethwick Library during November, but obviously that's stopped because of lockdown. But that will then progress again following the 2nd of December when we come out of lockdown. Both the Central and Wednesbury libraries have continued to remain open during lockdown through government advice, but the other ones haven't opened up yet. The Home Library Service has also continued to deliver books to customers, and libraries are offering limited services and reduced opening hours where they can, and the grab and go books are doing very well, plus the click and collect timed access to computers also. We will review this going forward, but subject to the local tiers, it depends on what happens with that. Plans are also progressing on reopening Blackheath Library and relocating Oldbury Library from Jack Judd House into the council house in part of the one-stop shop to bring everything together. And the other outlying smaller libraries will start commencing opening from January, starting with Bleak House, and then we've got Craigley Heath and Stone Cross, I believe. So and the other ones will continue to open in progression. In Sandwell Valley have been open, obviously, because we needed access to green spaces, and the animal welfare has had to continue for all our many animals that you don't always get to see all of them, but we've got lots of animals down there during the lockdown, and in line with government advice, a phased reopening of the visitors facility commenced in July, including the reopening of Mill Farm and the retail takeaway and catering at Park Farm. And there have been quite a lot of visitors going down to Forge Mill, I must say, over the summer while it's been open, which is really good. But unfortunately, due to the second lockdown, there will be no Santa event at the Valley. However, Forge Mill Farm will be reopening to the visitors, and I don't know whether they've got any left, but they have been selling Christmas trees. I have seen that has been advertised. I've been and got mine today, or should I say, my dear friend Pete has been and fetched mine today. Dearest friend is just going past there. Okay, we are the consultancy work in support of the business master plan and scoping study for the Valley is almost completed, and we are going to get a preview of that, I think, next week at our cabinet workshop probably, which is wonderful, and this is all moving forwards nicely. The museum and art service, the reopening has been stalled due to the second lockdown, but they have been trying to do other things online and so forth, so that will continue. Let me have a look. Okay, Lightwood Park, that's going to be able to do some weddings and stuff again, hopefully shortly. And I'm just looking to see the last little bit, see where okay, right, events. Permission was withdrawn by the council to host events on council-owned land from March 2020. That was due to safety, and this has continued through the lockdown. So we can't encourage people to have events and go and do lots of things in our council areas when obviously it's not allowed by the government, so we had to stop all that. All programmed events have been cancelled up until the end of the year. But during this time, the team focused their efforts on engagement through online social media. And we've got Discover Sandwell, and we've done the Armed Forces and the VE Day, and we've done some jazz festival stuff, and the Scarecrow Festival, which has just gone. That was quite popular. And I'm going to rush to the end now. So the Maid Festival that was promoted for last year, we are hoping to continue now next year, God willing. So if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer questions as I can. Don't all rush at once, and we'll see what we can do. And if I can't answer them, I'm sure that Alan or David or Alison will be able to answer. Okay.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crompton, for giving us a flavour of some of the issues you're working on.
It's a bit of a mad run through, but there's an awful lot there, isn't there?
To summarise some of the main points, the Cabinet members responsible for community safety, emergency planning and civil resilience, sports and leisure, also the Council's policy direction for countryside management, nature reserves, parks, green spaces and visitor centres, libraries. We also heard a little bit about rough sleep. And about events. So I'm going to open it up to members, whether you want to ask any questions on anything you've heard, or indeed whether you might have another question for Councillor Crompton. Councillor Pam Hughes, please. Councillor Hughes. I'm afraid you're on mute, Councillor Hughes, if you want to ask a question.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep, go ahead.
I'd just like to ask the Deputy Leader, of all the major parks across the borough have received significant investment. One park which is missing from that list, however, is Wednesbury's Maid Park, Brunswick, which has gained arboretum status. What investment is planned, and when and when.
Are we talking Brunswick Park here?
Yes, yeah, I did, oh yeah, Brunswick, sorry, just said Brunswick. That's it, thank you.
Sorry, it's a little bit unclear, Councillor Hughes, but the question was around investment in Brunswick Park.
It was,
and what
yes.
plans the council has for Brunswick Park. Councillor Crompton?
Yeah, well, we obviously have, we've got plans for a number of things across the parks, but that will all depend on what funding we do have available come next year. I mean, we've got 14, I think it is, green flags across different areas in this last 12 months. And so we must be doing something right, because I don't think we've ever had as many green flags as we've got now. I must admit, last time I looked at Brunswick Park, Brunswick Park, it was quite a nice park. So I think that if you want things done there, we need to know exactly the sort of things that you're looking for. I mean, the normal maintenance goes ahead as usual, but if you're looking for something extra, then it would be nice to know a list of your requests to see whether we can do that or whether we can't. But always up for suggestions.
I think Alan Caddick, the director, wants to come in as well, who might have a little bit more detail. Alan?
Good evening, everybody. Councillor Hughes, I mean, we are obviously working with the Friends Group, and you mentioned Arboretum status earlier, which is something we've worked with Mac and the people in the Friends Group to do that. And we'll continue to work with the Friends Group to look at plans and potential investment needs. But as Councillor Crompton said, it will depend on the funding being available, and that is always going to be the issue. Now, it may be through government that they'll start to think more about green spaces. I know there's been various requests for government to fund green spaces across the country because they've become more used in the last sort of 6-9 months. So that might be something that could be available. But again, we'll continue to work with the Friends Group to develop plans if we can, and then look at what investment's available. So you've got that commitment from me to do that.
Councillor Hughes, I'm happy to bring you back in if there's a supplementary question. Otherwise, I've got Councillor Jones who's indicated.
Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
No, I've got no other questions, but just say thank you very much for that.
Okay, Councillor Stephen Jones.
Well, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead, Steve.
Just when you want your email to when your internet start playing up, it's just when you're about to speak. My question is quite simple, really. I'm having trouble with Strathmore Road development again. It's a troubled development by Sandwell and BC. We've had OAPs cut off again. I've got no internet or television or telephones for now for 2 weeks. They've had horrendous trouble with the development. I just want to know to come to giving it to green space, exactly where the community, when the money goes from the development to the community infrastructure levy. We've got Leybourne Park, which has never had a tap done to it in the last 10 years. And we've got Weddell Wine, which is an area of outstanding natural beauty, which needs to be managed. There's also been S106 money, which seems to be diverted from Prince's End, and which was a complaint to the former leader, Yvonne Davis, and that seems to have been parked somewhere. We can't get a response to exactly where the money's gone or why it's gone to Prince's End. I'm just wondering where you have the most deprived areas in Sandwell, and we still haven't got a working park there.
There were some specific questions around Strathmore Road, I think Weddell Wind, and also some issues around some Section 106 money that perhaps may need some follow-up from officers. Do you want to come in, Councillor Crompton?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not aware of the request or complaint that had gone to the previous leader, so I can't answer that directly because I wasn't aware of it, and nothing's come to me as far as I'm aware with regards to that. So I think Alison may be able to answer something with regards to that. Hands up, I think.
Okay, Alison Knight, would you like to come in as one of the senior directors?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. I was just going to say to Councillor Jones that in the past, when there's been any difficulties at Strathmore when we've been developing, I know you've come to me and we've managed to sort those out quickly. So I'm more than happy for you to send me the concerns and I'll get those resolved quickly. There have been some challenges with that development. As you know, there were health and safety concerns a few weeks ago with somebody shooting pellets and other things. But we have managed to resolve, I think, most of them. But if you let me have them, I'll make sure that we sort that out. And with regards to Section 106, I know that there was a presentation to the Tipton Town group about the Section 106 that had been spent on different parks some time ago. So I'd have to have a look and see what we've done. But if you send me that through to me, I'll pick that up outside of this meeting and have a look at the works or the Section 106 that's still remaining.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll send you a copy of the original complaint, which was after the Tipton Town Board meeting, exactly why money didn't end up in Prince's End, it went somewhere else. I was just wondering where the money would go from Strathmore Road. And if you can just do something for the local community, stop them actually trying to shoot you, then that would be very advantageous to the local councillors. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll ask Dr. Knight to follow that up with you directly, Councillor Jones, and see whether we can get you some answers to your questions and for the residents of Prince's End. Councillor Boston, you've indicated you've got a question to ask.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Chair, and I'm grateful to Councillor Crompton for attending the meeting this evening. My constituents continue to be very concerned and they understand the reasons as to why the libraries are closed, but the closure of our library, Thimble Mill Library, has had a huge impact on people's physical and mental health. And I did ask at a previous meeting, and I understand COVID is unprecedented in its nature and we can never predict what's going to happen next, and it's important everything is COVID secure before it opens. But could we have an idea as to when libraries in Smethwick more generally will be reopening, and when we will be able to let our residents know they'll be able to access those facilities again? That would be useful, even if it's just a rough indication at this stage. I understand that precision is far too much to ask and is unreasonable considering the challenges, but even a rough indication of when libraries in Smethwick will reopen would be useful, because none of the libraries in Smethwick have been open, and I know what Councillor Crompton said in terms of the other libraries that have stayed open. I just wonder why we haven't had any libraries in Smethwick that could have been opened as well and under the same COVID secure arrangements. Thank you very much, Chair.
Councillor Crompton, would you like to come back in? Question there for you regarding libraries in Smethwick and when we can expect those to be reopened.
No problem. We are actively starting to get things ready to open libraries. We obviously do want to open the libraries, providing it's safe. We have been continuing to provide library services while they have closed. I can't give you a direct date. Alan may be able to give you a direct date, but we are actively looking to open all of the libraries. We're not planning on keeping any of them closed. We're looking to open all of the libraries as soon as we can. I don't know whether Alan wants to add something to that.
Alan Caddick, Director of Neighbourhoods, is there some further information you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll contact Councillor Boston offline and we'll get the detail for you, and we can have a discussion about things then if you wish.
Okay. Are there any other questions that members would like to raise, either on the points in Councillor Crompton's report or indeed on any of the matters for which she's responsible? If not, I'll jump in with a couple of questions myself. You touched on...
John Edwards has got his hand up there, Paul.
Oh, well, I've jumped in before him. So, Sandwell Valley Master Plan, Councillor Crompton, you touched upon. Could you give us a little bit more information about what actually your master plan is, or what your report that you're expecting is?
Okay, well, I can't actually give you too much detail because I don't get it until it comes to the workshop next week. So after that, I will be able to give you the master plan. But I do know that we're looking to do some things that will be helpful towards the Commonwealth Games in 2022, and also for when we move on. Actually, we've got something happening for Christmas, which is some art thing that the Alison's going to tell you about, so I can tell she has answer for me. That's going to happen over Christmas, where it's like a big parcel and a bit of it gets unwrapped. It was supposed to go across the towns, and one part of it was supposed to go in each of the towns. Unfortunately, that's not been possible because of the lockdown and one thing and another. But we're actually running that at the Sandwell Valley. While we're not having the Christmas what we normally would have down there, there is some open air stuff that is happening, and I think Alison will be able to fill you in on that. As I say, I haven't got the detail until it comes to me next week, so you're a little bit in front at the moment. I'll be able to answer that after next week, and I'm sure we'll get that information out to everyone anyway as soon as we've got it for. Alison may already have some information for you.
I suppose from my point of view, obviously an area of kind of outstanding national beauty. I'd be really interested to see what proposals the council is considering. What I wouldn't want to see is an area like that developed really in any particular way. So I'd be interested to know what the proposals are that you're considering, and perhaps the board may wish to bring those back at a later point. Dr. Alison Knight, was there something?
Actually, Paul, I agree with that, and I'm waiting anxiously to hear what they've got to say, because they've kept me in the dark till now. I don't know whether it's going to be amazing or I'm going to say no, I don't like that, but we'll wait and see.
Okay, Alison Knight.
I was just going to give you a little bit of a flavour of the sort of things that have been discussed, which I don't think will be of any particular surprise, Councillor Moore. Certainly around cycling and cycling paths, and really making more of that, and building on the existing work that's there, but really trying to do a little bit more. Looking far more at the attraction that we have with Forge Mill Farm, and trying to compare that to some of the other attractions across other parts of the region and country that really builds on and increases education. So these are just some of the proposals. And then obviously everybody will be aware that this year we were hoping to host the Maid Festival, and that had to be cancelled with the pandemic. So it's looking at that, but in a way that is sympathetic to what is in the valley, and whether there's ways that we can increase the amount of people who maybe stay there, camping, other things, and how that would then complement what's going on with the Commonwealth Games in terms of having cycle routes from the valley over to the Commonwealth Games side, things like that. Really, there will be more, but that just gives you a little bit of a flavour. And in terms of the parcels mentioned, the idea is to put 6 parcels down at the valley, each with the town names on, and then for them to be opened each day. But this will be online for people to actually see something come that is linked to a pantomime for each of the towns. So it's quite a nice activity. And you might also be aware of something that we've done with the rest of the Black Country around use of apps, and similar to what happened with Pokemon a few years ago, actually, where people can take selfies when they're out walking down in the valley, and when you take the selfie, there's a dinosaur with you, Stegosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, whatever. So and a lot of people have been going out and walking and taking some of those pictures, and some quite exciting things, but all of it will be in line with the valley. We can't develop there, we don't want to develop there at all, and it wouldn't be allowed in terms of planning regulations. Okay,
a couple of other quick questions, if I may, before I bring Councillor Edwards in as well. You referred to the works to improve Alfred Gunn House, actually something I was involved myself with initially, so I mean I do welcome that, but there are other high-rise properties still which were not included in that particular investment programme with the council. One of them is actually in your ward, Darley House. I know we've had discussions around it before. I wonder if you could maybe give a little bit of detail about what the council intends to do around investment in some of those other blocks that have not received investment to date. And a final quick question as well. You did touch upon Oldbury Library in your presentation. I think you mentioned plans to move the library from Jack Judge House to the council house. Can given that we spent quite a significant sum of money on Jack Judge House at the time and creating a new library, that seemed a little bit odd that we'd be considering moving it into the council house. So I wonder if you could maybe give a little bit more information and some rationale behind that as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll go with the Jack Judge House first of all. The thoughts, we're actually trying to rationalise our business basically, and Jack Judge House, if we can move things out of Jack Judge House into the council house, that will then allow us to either lease that building out, or we'll find another use for that building and get some monies in from it. And we're very short of funds at the moment. Obviously, the COVID has cost lots of money, and therefore we need to rationalise what we're doing, and so therefore that's the rationale behind that. And I've seen some nice plans that are being drawn up. It will go fit in nicely. Alison has been working on this, so I'll let her fill you in because she's got a greater detail. And with regards to the high-rise blocks, I think that probably Darley House in my ward is probably the last of the very big blocks to be done, and I've been waiting very patiently to hear about that. But Alan can fill you in on the detail with regard to that.
Okay, Alan Caddick, would you like to come in?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Darley House, we are pulling plans together for Darley House, but we are looking at investment plans across other blocks as well. So we won't be stopping in that respect. Part of our longer term investment plan is to carry out works to our high rise. We've also got to consider building safety as well as part of that. And we have established a building safety board, which again is part of today's discussions. But we are looking at our investment profile for all our stock, and the high rise will be part of that as well. So any blocks that have not been refurbished, we will be looking at a longer term plan for those.
Okay, Alison Knight, I think you wanted to come in as well.
Yes, I mean, it may also be worth just commenting on the Darley House that it is actually part heat networks in that area is part of the Rowley Town Investment Plan also, which you may have seen, which has gone in obviously as part of the High Street Funding Towns Fund. So, and that is part of the plans for Darley investment proposals. Well, I think Councillor Crompton asked me to come in on another matter. I'm just trying to remember, actually, going back to it.
Was the line to the council house, Alison?
It was the council house, thank you. It's getting to that time of evening, and probably my age as well. So, yes, we have looked at some quite interesting plans, actually, to look at ways that we move the library. And I appreciate what you say about the building, and it clearly what we'd be looking at, and we already have got interest in other people occupying that building. And the way that the library was developed was quite flexibly, actually, at Jack Judge House, with a lot of movable shelves and other things that weren't necessarily specific and community spaces. So they can be used by others, and we're in talks with a number of people about that space quite seriously as well. But what we're looking at doing is opening up more of the area down near the one-stop shop, and we've got some initial plans which we've just started talking to the unions and staff about. It will be a little bit less space, but it has got a community area. But the interesting and exciting part about this is that people coming in to the one-stop shop for other things, such as paying bills or doing whatever they need to do, will have access to a library. So what we're seeing with this is the ability to actually increase the number of library users, increase the footfall, and really make this part of a bigger offer, which you know, you can see happen in many areas of the country, that it's all services together. So the feedback that we've had so far from staff has been pretty positive, looking at the way this is going to operate. But as I say, it's still in the early sort of days of getting those plans right with the staff and talking to the unions about it as well.
Okay, Councillor John Edwards, I think you indicated you had a question.
I did, Chair. Yes, thanks for that. Paul, I think as the vaccination programme reaches closer to us, we're all, at least the optimists amongst us, are looking forward to getting back to some sort of normality in the new year. We're not sure when that'll be yet, but certainly by the end of spring, early summer, we should be in a much better position. And I'm just wondering, I'm sure the council officers will be giving consideration to the return of some sort of normality in the way the council operates. Excuse me. And I'm wondering if Maria and her team have given any consideration to governance arrangements when we get back into some sort of normality, particularly what we've learned from virtual working that we've been doing since March onwards, whether we'll take some of that forward into new arrangements, or whether we're going to revert to a completely physical process where we meet and sit and talk and do business in that way, or it may be a mix of the two. But I think we really do need to start giving some political consideration to that and how we organise in the future. And it's probably not too soon to be thinking about that. I wonder what Maria's ideas are on that and what her preferences would be for a return to a full normal, or whether we can take some of the lessons we've learned by operating in the way we are tonight, in fact, whether we take that into any new arrangements. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Crompton. I should have said, remiss of me, I do normally introduce all of the officers at the start of the meeting, and unfortunately didn't this time, but we do also have the Chief Executive, David Stevens, on the in the meeting as well, so this might particularly be a point he might want to come in on. But Councillor Crompton, do you want to perhaps have a go in the first instance?
Yeah, I mean, we are in a position that we would never have wanted to be in, aren't we? This is unprecedented, as I'm sure everybody keeps hearing, but that's true, and it is. But we have started doing a different way of working, and we are all learning to do a different way of working. And whilst I don't know about you, I really, really miss having meetings that are face-to-face and working face-to-face with people. We found that we can do it a different way. So I don't think that we will ever go back to how we were, but that doesn't mean to say there won't be a different way forwards. And I'm sure that some people will want to come and work as they did, and some people will want to continue working remotely as we're doing now. And we need to find a way forward through that so that we can work around it, and people can work how they feel the best and safest for them to work. And I think that's probably my views, that things just will never be the way they were. I don't think that we'll ever go back to exactly how we were, and there will be a different way. But it may all work out for the best, because we've got some, politically I'll say we've got some councillors that have had difficulty coming to meetings, like Pam, because she's been poorly, but they've been able to continue and work and do what they need to do, because they can work remotely. So we need to find a combination way of moving forward on this, and I think that's probably the best approach we can take, to find the best way we can work for everyone involved. I don't know whether David or Alison want to add anything to that.
If it's helpful, Chair, I think Councillor Crompton's absolutely right. We will have a smaller footprint, a smaller estate. As you know, Provident Place, the space that we have there, we're looking at the development of a school, so that means that we will have less space available for office accommodation. Plans, as you just heard, are in progress about discussions with creating a revenue stream from Jack Judge House to support the council finances. So I think, to answer Councillor Edwards' question, I think we will end up with a hybrid model, which indicates that where possible, staff will work remotely. That was a direction of travel that we were moving towards anyway, but clearly that's been advanced significantly by recent events. So I think we will have a mixture of meetings face to face and mixture of remote meetings as well in the future, because that's the only way we're going to be able to operate. There are things we need to consider. It's not easy for everybody to work from home. We're aware that some of our colleagues who may suffer from poor mental health find it difficult from home, and sometimes it's absolutely not conducive for a variety of reasons for colleagues to work from home as well. So as part of the move forward, we've got to take all those issues into consideration and consider the best way in which we can deliver services for local people in the most effective way.
Thank you, David. Councillor Yassine, I think you indicated you had a question to ask as well. Councillor Yassine?
Sorry, I had the mic on mute. Can I just, I'm going to leave the system on, but can I just disappear for 2 minutes and I'll come back on? Yeah? I'll just put myself as standby. Is that okay with you, Chair?
Okay, you're leaving the meeting temporarily,
No,
right?
I'm not leaving the meeting. I'm just going to get me a cold drink.
Right, okay.
Is that okay, yeah?
Well, I don't have an objection, that's fine. Are there any other questions or points that members wish to make? Or any different views that people want to advance from what we've heard? Okay, in which case, in terms of the agenda, I'll just ask whether there's any formal recommendations that the committee might want to put forward to the Deputy Leader, either in relation to matters that we've heard or indeed that were covered by the report. I don't think there are, from what I can ascertain. No. Okay, in which case, Councillor Crompton, can I thank you for coming along and giving us an overview of some of your work, and obviously for answering questions as well. You are welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting. Equally, if you have other things to do, then I will understand. So I'll leave it in your court.
Thank you. Thank you. Always happy to come along and help if I can anyway. Okay, thank you very much. I will try and stay in the background, but there are some other things happening at home here that I need to deal with as well. So I'll just turn my camera off and I might get to have my dinner because I didn't manage to have time for lunch. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item 6 is the appointment to the Building Safety Board. This is an invite to join this particular board. I did ask Alex Goddard as the clerk for the committee to circulate details out to members. The only expression of interest that I did receive back was from Councillor Boston. Alex, is there anything further to add in terms of the report and what this particular committee is about?
No, Chair. The draft terms of reference were attached as an appendix for members to read. And as you say, Councillor Boston did register his interest in representing your board on the Building Safety Board.
Okay.
Can I just come in there, Chair? I did
Councillor Yassine?
Can you hear me, yeah, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I did put an interest in as well, Alex, but I'm not very well at the moment, so I didn't know when it was going to start, but I did put an interest in. I don't know if you received my email.
No. Perhaps it could be that you may act as Councillor Boston's substitute member in occasions when he's not available to attend. That could be while reflecting your current ill health.
No, I did put it. Yeah, but I did put in a request, so I don't know if you received the email or not. But if not to worry.
I didn't at the time. No, Councillor. Sorry.
Right. Would you like to keep your name in, Councillor Yassine? Because if you do, we'll have to move to a vote of the committee to determine who's going to represent the committee on there.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, as Alex says, I'm not very well at the moment, so I mean, if you want to vote on it, I mean, are we going to have a vote today? Because Alex says he hasn't received my email.
Well, if you to put your name forward, we will have to have a vote between yourself and Councillor Boston, although Councillor Boston's also raised his hand. Councillor Boston?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Chair. I did see Alex's email come across and I did respond respond. And as you know, I always try and help whenever I feel that I could add something on the any boards that were asked to participate on. But I've got no objection to Councillor Yassine Hussain representing this committee on that board. And on that basis, if he does wish to do that, I have no problem in withdrawing. I already am mindful of the fact that I sit on the tenant review panel for this committee, so I'm happy if Councillor Hussain wants to take up that position.
Okay, can I ask somebody to mute their mic, whoever that might be? So, Councillor Yassine, do you still wish to put your name forward for the committee? Councillor Boston's indicated he's prepared to withdraw if you do want to be considered.
Yeah, I'd like to be considered, and I'm very grateful for Anna Boston for making that comment. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Boston, are you still happy to withdraw then, or otherwise we'll take it to a vote?
Yes, absolutely, Chair. I'm happy to withdraw.
Okay.
And I do officially withdraw.
So in which case then, in the recommendations, what we're now proposing is to amend recommendation 1, so it would be confirm the appointment of Councillor Yassine to the Building Safety Board as a participating observer for the remainder of the current municipal year. I believe Councillor Yassine,
Yeah, but could you just bear in mind that I am not in very good health, and but touch wood, and with the grace of God, I should be back up and running soon.
Okay. Can I just check with Alex? I think we still need to take a vote on putting Councillor Yassine forward. Is that right?
That's correct, Chair. It does
In
require.
which case, I'll ask Alex to put forward a roll call. Councillor Boston, did you want to come in and get on something again?
No, sorry, Chair, that's a legacy hand. Sorry.
Okay. In which case, as I said, the proposal is that we amend the recommendation and that Councillor Yassine will actually sit on that board. Alex, are you okay to undertake a roll call?
Of course, Chair, yes. Just one moment. Okay. So the resolution is for the appointment of Councillor Yassine to the Building Safety Board. If I can start with Councillor Bauer.
I'm quite all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Boston.
Agreed.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Agree.
Councillor Yassine.
Agree.
Thank you. Councillor Pam Hughes.
Agree.
Thank you. Councillor Moore.
Agree.
And Councillor Stephen Jones.
Agree.
Thank you. That's been carried unanimously, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations. And I think what we would like at such point in time is probably a verbal report back from yourself on that particular committee, Councillor. Agenda item 7 is an update on the Sandwell Aquatic Centre project. Part of this item will need to be taken in private session when we go into some matters concerning the finances of the project. However, what I would like to do is to take the substantive presentation in public and then allow time for questions, and before we then move into the private session, and then we can take questions in relation to the finances. Dr. Alison Knight.
Councillor Moore, I may be speaking too soon, actually. I'm just checking. Did you want to do the business grants item at this point?
Oh, yes, I do apologise. I did agree to put an additional item in, didn't I? So Councillor Jones, raised an issue at the start of the meeting around business grants, in particular in relation to business grants for pubs. Councillor Jones, do you want to come in on your point first? We'll see whether we can provide an answer for you. If not, then we may need to go away and ask officers to provide that information. Councillor Jones?
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. It's just that seeing that concerns of like landlords. I mean, the pub I drink is 500 years old, and that takes it back to Da Vinci. It's never had to close. What their concerns are is that the grants to the old tier grants have never been opened, and they can't apply for new new lockdown grant at the moment, so they can't apply previously and retrospectively, they can't apply introspectively for the funding after the 2nd of December. It's been a great pub, it's been revitalised, it's great for the community in Wednesbury, and it would be a shame after 500 years to be forced out by this virus. So just thinking that if is there any support we can give or any guidance or signposting to help these pubs out?
I'm aware there was some information sent out to members late this evening, which you may not have had a chance to look at, concerning business grants, but the Chief Executive's indicated he may have an answer to the question, I think.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So, yes, I'm hoping that members have got a copy of a document that was circulated that gives some details of the grants. On the council's website, under coronavirus support for businesses, if any businesses are listening, you can find details of eligibility and how to apply for the various grants that the council can support you with. The local restriction support grant will go live on we hope on the 30th of November, and we will be writing out to all local businesses and emailing them with the details of how to apply for that grant, and that can include venues such as hospitality, including pubs. So that's just by way of an update, Chair.
Okay, Dr. Ellison, to add?
No, I think the Chief Executive has said everything I was going to say, actually. So that's great. Thank you.
Okay, so I think, Councillor Jones, the assurance is that there is support available. Details are on the website and in a briefing that you may not have had a chance to look at yet. Is there anything further you want to ask, or are you content?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Chair. I did read the actual briefing, but I think it's going on from the lockdown after the 2nd of December. So the new pubs and restaurants will fall into a new grant system after the 2nd of December. The other thing was, is there any way they can contact you and get their claims in before the 30th of November rather than waiting for the council to contact them?
Well, I don't know about contacting myself or the Chief Exec directly, but I'm sure there is somebody they can contact. David?
Yeah, so the information, Councillor, will be on the website. The application form will be on the website. If we direct people to that, even though the application form isn't live, people can still do a partial completion of that form. So if any businesses are listening, they can go onto the council website and start completing that document. And as soon as the grant is payable, we will endeavour to make that grant payable.
I should clarify, I'm happy to take queries from businesses, but I don't want everybody's query about their business grant landing on my email address. But Councillor Yassine, I think you had a question as well.
Yeah, as we've been informed in the media as well, with the Birmingham Black Country, that we've been putting tier 3 from 2nd of December. But they haven't given us a review or a cut-off date, have they, for tier 3, or is there something what I haven't picked up?
Okay, I don't think your question's relevant to this particular item.
No.
I mean, I'm happy to perhaps take the question if you like, or via the Chief Executive, who's probably slightly better placed to give an answer than myself. But at the moment, the government haven't given, they've placed Sandwell in tier 3 today, along with Birmingham and the rest of the Black Country. In terms of an exit strategy from that tier, my understanding is obviously the R rate would have to come down. And the borough would have to see a significant reduction in order to go down to tier 2. But the Chief Executive, who's engaged in daily meetings about this, is probably in a better position to give you a more comprehensive reply.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It is a tough one. So all that we know at the moment is government are keeping this under review. It is a decision nationally that they're taking as to which areas are in lockdown. Although local areas do give representation to government, government makes that final decision. So at the moment, we're expecting a review maybe in 2 weeks. But as you say, Chair, that's going to very much depend on the R number the amount of capacity in the local hospital, and a whole bunch of other indicators that government will be looking at. So we're not at this moment got any indication of where government may look to in the future if the R number doesn't change.
Okay. I think we dealt with the matters that we raised as additional business. So I'll go on to what is agenda item 8 now, which, as I said before, is a project update on the Sandwell Aquatic Centre and the new leisure centre in Smethwick, which will also be host for the swimming and diving events for the Commonwealth Games in 2022. As I did mention, when we get to the financial matters of this report, we will need to move to private session. However, prior to that, we do have a presentation from Chris Jones, who's the lead project officer, an opportunity to ask questions. Once we've dealt with that, I will then move and ask for a seconder to take us into private session to cover some of the financial matters. So I'll hand over to Chris Jones, and it's possible that Alison Knight and Alan Caddick may want to contribute as well. So Chris, it's over to yourself.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just share my screen, if that's okay with you, just so I can go through the presentation. So if somebody could let me know once you can see that, that would be helpful. So hopefully it should be on your screens now.
Yep, please.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so just in terms of a paper was issued as well, which this presentation picks information from. But I just wanted to start off just giving members of the board some information about the work which we've done around making sure the site is resilient in light of COVID-19.
Chris, is it just possible you can click on the little PowerPoint icon to make the screen bigger?
I can. Is that better, Councillor Moore?
Yeah, that's better, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so in terms of everything we've got in place on site around COVID-19, we've got all the measures which are required by the government. We've pulled all those measures together into a Sandwell Aquatic Centre COVID-19 resilience plan, which we update on a monthly basis, or if government guidance changes before that, we update it accordingly. So as we're currently in a national lockdown, we've broken down the condition of the site into a number of different stages, dependent upon what form or tier of lockdown we're in. As we're currently in a national lockdown, and even under tier 3, it will be the same. We've got certain measures in place with regards to visitors attending site. So essentially, only essential visitors can attend site, and we're not having any non-essential visitors attend site at the moment, just to make sure that we're protecting the workforce on site, but also the project as best as we can. Everything on site is operating in line with the Construction Leadership Council Site Operating Procedures version 6, which lays out all the measures we need to make sure are in place to ensure that our workforce on site is safe. I think as well, due to the proactive approach, both of the council and Waits Construction, who are the main contractor on site, in the first lockdown, we only needed to close the site for 24 hours just to make sure the measures we put into place were successful and were in accordance with those guidelines. Other construction projects in the area had to close for longer than that, but because we are a big wide open site, we're not watertight yet, we were able to continue work and push that forward. In terms of the actual contractors and also the council team, we've got a full resilience plan in place as well to make sure that all works will continue to move forward so that we are ready in time for the game. So you've got the list in the table below. They're the main contractors and the main contractor Waits, and then the main subcontractors who are on site at the moment. And we do have a resilience plan in place for all of those subcontractors. What I do have, Chair, if it's okay with you, is some drone footage of the site. I think this is really the best way to show the progress which we're making. So if you're happy, Councillor Moore, if I share that drone footage just to give you this is from just over a week ago, but it gives you the current position of the site and the progress which we've made. It takes about 4 minutes if you're happy for me to talk you through that. Sorry, I missed that, Councillor Moore. You're on mute.
Sorry, I said I'll leave it in your capable hands as to whether the technology allows us to do that. But yes, go ahead.
Hopefully, I've done this a number of times, so hopefully it should work. It might be a bit jerky, but overall it should work. So if it's not moving at all, then let me know. So what we have here is the site compound, and we're coming up the western part of the site, which in legacy mode will be the main car park for the aquatic centre. This is all area of Londonderry, what was previously Londonderry playing fields, which we will keep as green space after the project is complete. What we are seeing now is the main entrance into the site from Londonderry Lane. So this is where in legacy mode all the cars will come through. I will pause it on occasion just so I can point things out. So all of these materials here at the front of the site are the cladding which will go on the front steel work. So this is actually the walls of the building being put into place. And this is, since this drone footage was taken, this is progressed rapidly. The reason, again, so this is one of the mitigations around COVID-19, is early ordering of site materials and then storage of those materials on site in a safe way, so that there's no issues with supply chain will impact on the progress that we're making on site. So this front section of the building is now completely in place with regards to the structural steelwork. So this is the reception area. The main fitness gym will be in this area as well. And as we come around, I'll point that out to you. So the main fitness gym will be on this first floor level with the reception area here. So this will be the main entrance into the building. Sadly, it doesn't show on here, but what you will get as you walk through to the building is a completely glazed panel, which will give you really fantastic views straight down the pool hall with the competition pool, the diving pool, and then the dive tower at the end of the building. And then what we have here is the two of the activity studios. These two activity studios also open up into one big one. And then on the lower level there, you also have the dry dive facility. And as you can see just here, these rectangular shapes, those are some of the pits which will be in place for the dry dive. So as we come around, these are 3 more trusses which are now actually in place. So we're now up to 9 trusses in total, which are in place on site. As we come around to the eastern side of the building, which in legacy mode, all this area to the front of the screen will be parkland, totally re-landscaped with additional with a new children's play area, which we'll install. What you can just see under the floor which we've got in place, which will eventually be the sports hall floors, is the community pool. The tank for the community pool is fully cast now, and there's actually water in it. The leak test is ongoing with the community pool. So we'll now continue down the eastern part of the site. The area that we've got just here is what will eventually be the changing area for the swimming pools. Again, as we come down, work is continuing to enable the steel work to continue down the eastern side of the building. If I just pause it here for a moment, this is the filtration plant room. So all the mechanical plants required for the operation of the swimming pools will be located in here. What we also have is, you can just see, I hope, there are two rectangular structures here and here. They are the foundations for the 10-metre dive tower, and then the plinth also for the 3-metre springboards. So that is already in place, and we're just finalising the works down here so that at the beginning of December we can start the erection of the dive tower. And again, as we come further round, what you can see is the 50-metre competition pool. You will see some upstands within that, so it's not a level bottom in the competition pool. But what these lower areas are where the base of the movable floors will sit, and then the upstands are where the horizontal booms will move to. So this really is a good way of showing that we'll be able to split the swimming pool down into 3 different areas, and we'll be able to have variable depths within the swimming pool. What that means for us is that we can program the building successfully, and to give as much options in terms of swimming within the space, rather than just having one large deep section of water. The commencement, so this pool has now started being filled to commence the pool test on that. As Councillor Crompton said earlier, we have done a dimensions check with Swim England on the length and width of the pool, and they're within the standards set by FINA, who are the international body for swimming. And then what you have on this section here is the 5-metre deep dive pool, which again will be supported by the dive towers. This is completely cast as well, and will be tested once the swimming pool, the main competition pool, has been filled. What we are continuing to work on is the installation of the reinforced concrete works around the pool, so the slabs and the pool deck which come around the side of all the pools, which are currently underway, but they have certainly progressed from when this drone footage was taken. What you can also see here is the tiered seating, which will be the permanent legacy spectator seating. So that is where the 1,000 spectator seats will go once the building is in legacy mode, and we will be building the temporary seats for the Commonwealth Games on this slab here, which will eventually be some changing rooms and also the sports hall floor. The drone footage does go on, but it's of a car park, so I will save the current temporary construction car park, so I will save members of the board from that, as I don't really think it adds any benefit. But this is, I think, a good way of showing the works, how the works have progressed, and they have progressed well in the period. I think it's nearly 12 months since we, actually I think it is 12 months since we last did a presentation to the Scrutiny board, so you can see the progress which has been made since the last board was held, when we were still excavating areas of the site, to where we are now 12 months later, where the structural steelwork for almost half of the building is in place. So I will stop that and then return to the presentation. So in terms of the programme and the current progress we're making, we did, in terms of the milestones which we've hit recently, the big milestones we were aiming for was around the commencement of the structural steelwork. We did miss that by 2 days. The reason for that is the structural steelwork is, of course, very dependent upon cranes to lift the steelwork into place, and on the 24th of August we did have a classified storm hit, which meant we were unable to start on that Monday, but we were delayed until the Wednesday. The next milestone was then around the commencement of cladding and roofing, and we hit the date with that, which was the 26th of October. And sorry, I should have paused the drone footage, but you would have seen on the eastern side of the building that at that point there was some cladding in place. But since this drone footage has been taken, as I've said, that cladding has been installed quite rapidly. The next milestone which we're focusing on is the commencement of the dive tower installation. We have been delayed. So the high wind, when we look at the critical path for the project, the high winds which we've experienced recently have delayed us in terms of the milestone. But the latest date we're forecasting at the moment is 6 days later than originally anticipated. What that then does, if it is 6 days, we are working, we have got a plan in place to try and minimise that as much as possible, and we're hopeful that we will reduce it from the 6 days that we were forecasting. But that then does have an impact on the next two construction milestones in terms of the completion of the dive tower and then the completion of the structural steelwork. What we did though, when COVID-19 hit in March, we did actually reconfigure how we would install the steelwork and when we would install the dive tower. So the way that we then configured those works to take place was we purposefully delayed the installation of the dive tower to take place once more of the steelwork had been complete. What this does is it means that the cladding and roofing contractor can carry on with the works behind the structural steelwork, and it removed the dive tower from the critical path of the project. So whilst if we do start the dive tower slightly late, whilst it does impact on the next two milestones, once we get to the commencement of the first fix fit out, we will be back on target in terms of starting that milestone. So as I say, although we are currently slightly behind on the commencement of the dive tower, what that doesn't do is have an impact on the planned completion date of the 21st of February or the contract completion date of the 19th of April. What we've also done is in response to COVID-19, it did have some impact on the progress we were making. But to make sure, and with the uncertainty which COVID-19 presents us, we did identify a number of different opportunities to either accelerate works and mitigate the risk caused by COVID-19 and any impact of inclement weather. So we have got a potential recovery opportunity of 10 weeks. So in terms of the float we have in place, we do have this 10 weeks potential to recover additional time on the project. And also between the plan completion date and the contract completion date, we also have 8 weeks of terminal float in place. So in terms of the programme and where we are currently, and with the float that we've got in place, the date which we need to hand over to the organising committee for the Commonwealth Games is in April 2022, and therefore we're in a very strong position to deliver the project within those timescales. So what this slide just represents is just an example over the next few months of all the works which are starting on site. I shan't go through all of them. But as you can see, although we've got, I think it's 4 main subcontractors on site at the moment, these will start to increase as we go forward over the next few months as we push forward with the completion of the building and making sure that we are progressing on time. Also, as well as is covered in the paper, I thought I'd just quickly cover the highways works, which we're also doing to support the delivery of the project. Phase 1 of these works, which will be delivered by the end of March 21, are in progress at the moment. So we've delivered a new zebra crossing on Dog Kennel Lane and a new zebra crossing on Bristol Hall Road. Neither of these were actually required from a planning perspective or a transport perspective for the opening of the aquatic centre. But when we were consulting with residents and traders in that local area, it was clear that the improvement of pedestrian travel was needed. So over and above what we were required to do for the aquatic centre, we have delivered these 2 new zebra crossings. The other area which is nearing completion at the moment is the improvement from a traffic island to a signalised junction at Manor Road and Londonderry Lane. All the signalised junctions we're putting in place have pedestrian crossings. They also have advanced stop areas for cyclists or for cars to ensure that cyclists can manoeuvre through the signals safely. So these set of traffic lights at Manor Road and Londonderry Lane are nearly complete. We've just started work at Manor Road and Holly Lane. Again, the removal of an island and the installation of signals with the same associated pedestrian crossing and advanced stop for cyclists. And then the next set of signals will be the junction of Holly's Lane and St Paul's Road. Again, this is a problematic junction, and we'll be putting in those same pedestrian, just features to support active travel in the area and sustainable travel. What this also does in terms from a Commonwealth Games perspective and for a legacy perspective in terms of people accessing the aquatic centre, it gives a really good pedestrian route from both Galton Bridge up Holly Lane to the aquatic centre, and also Rolfe Street up Stony Lane and Londonderry Lane. It gives safe pedestrian access straight through from these transport links to the aquatic centre. The other piece of improvement, or the other improvement we're doing in phase 1, is the upgrade on Londonderry Lane of a puffing crossing to a toucan, and then this is again in line with the sustainable travel plan which we're looking to introduce around the aquatic centre to make sure that somebody could also not only walk there but also cycle safely to the facility. The phase 2 highways works, which we are still working on making sure we get those right, but they'll need to be in place by the end of February 2022, really focuses on improving the junction on Queen's Road and Londonderry Lane, what is known locally as the Queen's Head Island, and making sure that we improve that for both pedestrians and cyclists, whilst of course maintaining the traffic flow. And also environmental improvements around the Londonderry Road shopping precinct to make sure that we are making the most of the introduction of the aquatic centre in the area as a regeneration project as well. So that not only are we delivering an aquatic centre, but we're also improving the local public realm in the area too. So in terms of the update on the aquatic centre, Chair, that's the update to date. And I know that we're going to consider the other items in a private session, so I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, if I could just ask you to stop sharing the presentation for now, Chris. Obviously, that's a really comprehensive overview in terms of where we're at. This is a world-class leisure facility in terms of Sandwell. We are going to have one of the best facilities in the country and in Europe as well. Really exciting. The drone footage in particular, I think, clarified just how big this facility is as well. And my thanks, I think, to Chris as well, who's been involved in a number of the rebuilds of council leisure centres, including West Bromwich and Wednesbury, and the new centre at Portway as well, and Tipton. So Chris has done a lot of work on this along with the council directors. But I'm going to open it out for questions in terms of what we've heard. I think from the committee's point of view, we would like to have a further update on this. At the moment, my thinking is perhaps bring it back again in March for a further report, but I'll open it out to questions to members. We've also still got the Chief Executive, Alison Knight, and also Councillor Crompton, whose portfolio this is on the call as well. So does anybody have any questions they wish to ask? Well, you've left everybody speechless if that's the case. Does anybody have anything they wish to ask? No? Okay, I suppose my question then, Chris, to you would be around how the project ties into the wider West Midlands work in terms of the Commonwealth Games Committee, etc. Perhaps you could give an update on the project overall and where it's at. Obviously, the Aquatic Centre is just one part of the overall Commonwealth Games. Also, I wonder if you could perhaps give us a brief update in terms of some of the legacy work in relation to Sandwell and what our thinking is around that as well.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So in terms of the project as a whole, it's broken down into three different, it's a programme which is broken down into three different projects. So as you say, we've got the Aquatic Centre project, which deals with the construction of the facility and the highways works around it. We then have the legacy project, which is making sure from a Sandwell perspective, we make the most of being a host venue for the Commonwealth Games, and also the fact that even if we weren't a host venue, we have the Commonwealth Games right on our doorstep. So it's an amazing opportunity for us to promote Sandwell, to portray it in a really good light, and also to reap some benefits from that as well. And then the final project is called the Host Integration Project, and what that essentially will start to pick up is around all the elements of making sure that the Commonwealth Games are delivered at the Aquatic Centre without a hitch. So that focuses on transport, etc., and making sure people can get safely to the Aquatic Centre, and that is just one of the examples of what is picked up within that project. So on the Host Integration project, we are working well with the organising committee. We're currently developing plans with them around all the different elements to make sure that the games go ahead. We're currently in a position where we're agreeing responsibilities and scope of works with the organising committee, so that we're all clear on who's responsible for what, so that early within the new year we can develop a delivery plan, and then with that delivery plan we can also start engaging with residents going forward, so that they're clear on the impacts that it will also have on them. So that's a work in progress at the moment. Over the last few months, we've made some great progress with the organising committee, who are really supportive, and that is something that will continue through the next number of months until we've got that delivery plan in place. With regards to the legacy project, with the focus which was taken by the Aquatic Centre to make sure through COVID that it was on target, and the resources that it took to ensure that was the case. The legacy project has been delayed slightly, but what we do now have in place is all the thematic areas which we're looking to deliver the project through. And we are currently developing an outcomes framework across all of those different thematic areas, so that we can understand from a council perspective all the outcomes and outputs that we want from the legacy of the Commonwealth Games. Once we've got that outcomes framework, the draft of that should be ready by the middle of December, so the middle of next month. Once we've got that outcomes framework, we will then start developing the projects which we'll need to actually go away and start delivering the outputs and the outcomes we want to achieve. So again, the legacy project is a work in progress, but we're currently looking and working towards having a full legacy plan detailed and developed by the end of March 2021, at which point we'll be looking to bring that through the cabinet process to make sure that all members are cited on that, so that we can ensure that as a local authority we are making the most of having the Commonwealth Games in Sandwell.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Are there any other questions or comments or observations that members want to make? Okay, I'll ask whether anybody has any recommendations that they wish to make in relation to this particular item. Okay, as I said at the start of my comments, I would like to see a further report, Chris, come back around March time. That's March 2021. So I'll ask Alex, the clerk, to plan something in around that. But thank you very much for the presentation. It was very comprehensive, and keep up the good work. And from the benefit of anybody who is watching at home, we are now going to move into private session to look at some of the finances around the project. So I now have to move some formal wording, which will end the meeting if you're watching at home. And that is that the public and press be excluded from the rest of the meeting. This is to avoid the possible disclosure of exempt information under Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972, as amended by the Local Government Access to Information Variation Order 2006, relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. Can I ask if there's a seconder for that motion? It does need to be seconded, I should add.
Yes, I'll second that, Chair.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Yassine. I think it was first. Okay, Alex, if you can end the webcast, please.
Thank you. I will advise when you're ready to continue.